Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It feels like it's been a while, hasn't it? Today I wanted to do something for me, essentially. We've been doing a lot of openings and don't get me wrong, they've been really fun. However, I started this channel in order to be competitive. Now in order to be competitive, I have to, learn, modify, and adapt. And my deck list right now needs to do the same. So before I start doing any of that, I kind of want to share with you what I've been playing lately. This is the deck that I want to take to YCS, Los Angeles, and at the moment, it's not done yet. It's still a work in progress. I know there's ratios here and there that I can change, but I'm very excited to bring this to you guys. Hopefully, some of you get some inspiration from it. Hopefully, some of you can give me some feedback, maybe some advice on how to deck build. Like I said, I'm not a pro. I'm not pretending to be one, but I do wish to play against them. So hopefully in that, why don't we get the deck list started. So to start off with, I usually play around 2 lava golems. Why lava golem? Because any end board will usually end on 2 monsters, which very easily. It could be a normal and a special, a fusion, whatever. So lava golem, I don't feel like it's dead in my hand. I've never felt like it's dead in hand unless your opponent plays Labyrinth, then maybe. However, if it's not Labyrinth, I feel like Lava Golem is a really strong card just to clear boards, get rid of annoying problems here and there. Now, I play the one-ofs. 1 Tearlaments Kashtira, 1 Kashtira Ogre, and 1 Scareclaw Kashtira. They're all part of my Kashtira package. I really love the Kashtira deck. It's been something that I was looking forward to releasing ever since I first saw it like take flight in the OCG. I love the villain motif, the taking from the planets and kind of integrating into themselves. I feel like these cards are good as a one-of. You don't want them to be too bricky, and Kashtira does have one main problem that not a lot. The cards are very strong, their effects are very strong, but not a lot of the cards are good to run. I still have the problem of what if I get Iblied? I cannot special summon anymore, so I need to find a good normal summon, and the level 4 is not good enough. So for right now, I'm keeping these 3. Scareclaw Kashtira, again, negates effects until the end of the turn of the whatever monster or Kashtira monster battles, and it can attack and defense. Kashtira Ogre is just a big beater. He can also search for a Kashtira trap, and he can help me look at my opponent's hand. He's not bad. However, he is not the best. And Tearlaments Kashtira is just a good way to mill my opponent's deck. I usually don't have any cards that I want in grave because I don't have a lot of grave effects. I mean, it's a Kashtira deck. It's not Tearlaments. So, at the moment, she's good at 1. The ratio might change, but who knows? Hopefully I'm able to keep him like this. Next up is the 3 ofs. Kashtira Unicorn. Kashtira Unicorn is a really big body, a really big attack, and a really great effect. I feel like the unicorns need to be a 3 in deck because it searches out your Theos, it searches out your Birth. It's probably the best target or the highest chance your opponent's gonna go, Imperm or Ash on, because if they don't know exactly what they're doing or how they can play against it, this is gonna be the biggest draw. Next up is everybody's favorite Kashtira Fenrir. He's not a bigger body, but he is a very good removal monster. And by that I mean if your monster can be targeted, he will banish it face down during battle phase. If you have nothing to stop him, he will clear boards. He is dangerous. People call him the new Pankratops with less attack. I can see that very well. However, Kashtira Fenrir not only has the ability to banish from a face-up monster on the field, he can... Actually, it's a face-up card, so even your back row can get hit. Kashtira Fenrir is not only just a big body and a good attack, he's also a searcher for your deck. If you do not have a normal Kashtira monster, while he is on the field, he can actually find you one. And again, that level 7 synergy. So Kashtira Fenrir is a 3. The other one I play at 3 is Kashtira Riceheart. Riceheart is a good miller. Well, a good vanisher. He makes himself level 7. He can special summon himself if there's already a Kashtira monster on the field, so he can be an extender as well. Overall, he's a good card. He is not that strong on his own, but you know, that's not what we use him for. We need him to exceed into a level 7. He is something that I wish I could see more often, which I really don't. Again, a good normal summon for this deck would be really appreciated, but I don't think we're going to get one. So in the meantime, Kashtira Right Heart stays at 3. I play something odd in this deck. I play a Dragoon package. So I have Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon at 1. Honestly, it's Dragoon. If Despia can play it, I want to play it too. It's a really strong card. It's a really big boss monster, and sometimes you can close games on its own. So if your opponent doesn't have a way to out him, why not go for it, right? Also, check out my old Red Eyes Black Dragon from Legend of Blue Eyes. Super old, super beat up. But you know, had it since I was a kid. There's some special memories there, so love my Red Eyes. Now I play 2 Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. There's a lot of special summoning in this meta. I feel like she's kind of funny. It also helps me go. It's an additional tuner to help me go into my level 10 synchros. She is kind of funny, like I said, because when my opponent special summons, I can send her to the grave, and then that's it. No more effects and no more special summoning. All good, all done, because if that monster leaves the field, then they pay damage. So it's a kind of cheeky way to play. It tells your opponent that if you play, even if you are in time, you might just lose. And let's kind of face it, time management right now in this game and in this meta, it's very important. These 3 Ash, thankfully, I was able to obtain them at a regional here in my hometown. And honestly, they've been with me since. I really love these Ash Blossoms, and in this meta, Ash Blossom is really needed. And the previous one, with Tear Laments being the dominant deck, it wasn't really as strong as it is. But right now, because of Despia and a bunch of other decks out there that need those resources from the deck, is a very good way to hurt them. So you can either let it go through and they can get hurt by it, or they can essentially try to stop it and then waste a resource on its own. So she's never a dead card in hand. For my spells and traps, I have the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. I like having at least 1, or can only play 1, but I like having the 1 in deck all the time, mainly because you never know when you're going to go against the back row deck. I know it's just a 1 of, and the chances of pulling it are probably very, very slim, but it's just kind of like a peace of mind thing for myself. So yeah, I like having the Harpy's Feather Duster at 1. Because of Ibly and other decks, I kind of oriented my deck to going second and being prepared for that. Because let's kind of face it, if your opponent ends up winning the die roll, it will make you go second. For that, I have Dark Hole. Not only does it help me clear the board, it can also bait out a negate. If your opponent is very dependent on their board, they're definitely going to negate the Dark Hole. And if they don't have, because it's a mirror match, if I'm going against another Kashtira deck and they try to Ibly me, and I have this in hand, well, at that point, I can just go ahead, play Dark Hole, clear the boards, and I'm able to go full combo. 2 Book of Eclipse. I do not like the fact that I have to play this, but I know how strong it is in this meta specifically. The only reason I don't like to play it is because I feel like giving your opponent cards or more resources to their hand is not the best thing to do. But I understand it can also bait out an Ash, because it can be stopped by Ash Blossom. In that aspect, it's not the worst thing to play. So for that, and to stop, mirror matches, and a lot of decks that just cannot activate effects when they're face down. Please forgive me. My little corgi landlord thinks it's time for rent. Now for the 1, I play the 1 Kashtira Big Bang. Again, if you're a Kashtira player, you already know. You tend to banish this card off of the Rice Heart. That's especially so it can extend your plays, get a material from one of your Kashtira XCs. It's really not that used as a setter card. Honestly, it's mostly just a banish target, so you only play the 1 of these ones. I do like to play 3 cross-out designators. I feel like our deck loses really quickly to Nibiru, to Ash, to cross-out, or what's called Book of Eclipse. So if I have the cross-out designator in the main, and at 3, I have a high chance of seeing it and hopefully being able to stop the responses of my opponent in order for me to be able to play the game, because nobody likes to not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Come on, let's face it. We're there to play, and when your opponent locks you out for the whole turn, it's really not that fun. 3 Imperms. Imperm is just an absolute unit of a card. Not only can you play it going first, you can and set it and, you know, negate a monster's effect and hold row. But you can also play it from hand if you control no monsters. It's a good card going first or going second. Honestly, this is a mainstay of the deck. And I don't think anybody would fault me for playing this at 3. If I could play 6, I would play 6. You want to see this card as much as you want. For my Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I do play 2 Red Eyes Fusions. At the moment, I don't have much because I do understand that if I do play this Red Eyes package, or Dark Dragoon package, with the Red Eyes Fusion, I'm effectively locking myself out of a turn for doing anything. And if I do not have a crossout designator to fully stop their Ash Blossom, I know my turn is just basically forfeit. However, I don't usually play the Red Eyes Fusion on my first turn unless there's no other actual plays to do. And even then, it's not a horrible play going first, but it's all luck. Essentially, it's all luck. It's all what you have in hand. Hopefully, when you see the Red Eyes Fusion, you can see the crossout designator at the same time, because that way you can just stop the Ash, you can go full combo and get out your Dragoon before your opponent can actually get out theirs. And let's kind of face it, right now, this is the reason why Dragoon is jumping up in price, and that's because, you know, Dragoon is seeing more play. Despia can make it really easy, and why shouldn't we play Dragoon too, right? I feel like one of the biggest weaknesses this deck has is the fact that it doesn't have any negates on board. So usually I try to set up my regular board, hopefully have something to keep my board alive, enough interruptions to keep my board alive, and then next turn, if I do have that Red Eyes Fusion, just go into Dragoon, cement, you know, my foundation, and just go from there. Try to go for game. I know that's not precisely how a lot of people want to play it, but my playstyle is a little bit different. 2 Pressure Planet Rise-Off. I like this card because it's a searcher for the deck. I do not like this card because I feel like it's bricky. Like, even though I only have 2 copies of it, if I see both of them in hand at the same time at the space of another card that could have been extremely useful for me, and instead I've got another Pressure Planet. And it's happened to me before, so I don't like to run it at 3. I usually just run it at 2. I hope I don't see them in the first turn. Yes, it can bid negate, it can for the Ash or whatever, but I'd rather just play it at 2. Another one I do like is Kashtira Theosis. It has a really good banish effect, so I can, if I have it already engraved for using its effect, I can already go ahead and banish it next turn for either my Kashtira Scareclaw or my Kashtira Tearlament to be able to special summon them to the field. It's a searcher. If I don't have the Theosis already in hand and I have the Unicorn, I can get Theosis. I can get Birth. But Theosis is usually the first opener. Yes, it does luck you into Xyz monsters, but that's okay though. It's something that we need. It's a special summon from the deck. Honestly, it's just an extender for more of your plays. This deck has a lot of extenders, a lot of gas, not a lot of defenses. And the last one is Birth. Now, I played 3 Birth because all my repertoire or most of my big monsters are level 7. Like it should be for a Kashtira deck, and Birth makes it so I can effectively just normal summon my level 7 monsters, which is amazing. I can also every turn grab one from either grave or banish pile as long as they're not banished face down, and that can just recycle my resources. I'm never afraid of running out of Kashtira monsters unless I'm playing a mirror match, because usually my Kashtira monsters can keep recycling into each other and I can keep making my plays. And Birth is a big card for that, so I like having Birth at 3. For the extra deck, I know some of you guys are going to call me crazy, but I really like playing Sword Soul Chen Ying at 1. He is a good banisher. If I have a way to make him quickly enough, I always do. He, 1, banishes monsters face down. It can trigger the effect of my Shangri-Ira, and he's an interruption for my opponent's turn. Also, big body. Honestly, I really like this card too. So yeah, I like the Chen Ying at 1. I played the Baron de Fleur at 1. I don't want to depend on synchros too much, but if I have to, Baron de Fleur is one of the best. He's an Omni Negate and a pop. And on the standby, he can go back to the extra deck and get you another material. So honestly, Barone does very well on its own. He's like having that Dragoon without having that Dragoon. I play the Nightmare Unicorn at 1 as well. I feel like this is going to change quite often. It honestly depends on what the meta is at the moment, because this can easily be a Lingaribo in order to have another way of outing the Ibly. But if I get, let's say, puppeted by the Despia players, then at that point I'm screwed and probably going to lose that turn. But that's okay. That's the way Yu-Gi-Oh goes. I like the artwork of this card. I like the fact that if I co-link it to something else, which I do not have another link monster, I could probably draw a card. And it doesn't destroy, it sends back into the deck. So it's a good way to get rid of some stuff. However, this is something that I will change quite often. So in the meantime, it's just kind of space filler. I do play the Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack at 1. I like the ability of having tokens and being able to pop stuff on the field. Also, he's a pretty decent body. So, and a level or a rank 7 XE. So, you know, enough said. He's a nice little cheeky card to have in tow. I do like to play the Red Eyes Flare Metal at 2. Not only can he bring back your Red Eyes Black Dragon from the graveyard, he also becomes indestructible while he has material. And the burning effect is a good way to end your opponent in time for that game 3 win. Even if you want to call it cheesy, it is kind of cheesy. However, I feel like it's a good tactic, and not a lot of people play it at 2. So I like it at 2. It dissuades my opponent from being able to banish. At 1, I also have the Divine Arsenal Zeus. This is the card I love because it looks like a straight up Gundam. And Gundam has always been my thing for years now. Aside from that, he's a good way to go into a board wipe. I can use any of my Xyz monsters, which is most of my extra deck, to attack. And then if it has 2 more materials, I have an interruption for my opponent's turn. And Zeus can just clear boards. Honestly, he's really good. He's also a target because sometimes I want my opponent to have a tough choice, whether I have a Lingaribo in the extra or have the Zeus. If they are going to banish 1, they have to pick 1. They have to pick carefully. So I like to keep him at 1. Yes, I might lose him, but you know, we prepare for that type of scenario. Now, I have 2 Diablosis, the Mind Hackers. I like playing them at 2. Because the more you banish, the stronger he becomes. And yes, it's not an ideal way to win, but I've actually done this where I banish enough cards on my opponent's deck in order to deck him out. Kashtira does not have an easy way to win. And in this meta, we feel like we're lacking something. But I feel like Diablosis is already strong enough on its own. If I have enough materials, I can go into a Zeus. If I do not want to have materials on it and just use it straight up banish, trigger my Shangri-Ira, and banish more. So it's a win more card. It's very flexible, which I like most of my extra deck monsters to be. Strong yet flexible. I feel like that's mostly my my theme with this deck. I have 2 Kashtira Rice Hearts again. He doesn't have protection, but he does have the ability to be an interruption during your opponent's turn, banishing 1 face down, and adding more material. He is not the best to go into, like right off the bat. Let's face it, he's a walking macrocosmos. Yes, that's very good and can stop many strategies. However, he does not have protection, requires a lot of resources, and you can probably go into something better in order to make your opponent's follow-up turn a little bit harder to play. So Kashtira Right Heart is not something I would go in right away unless I know that banishing from, or you know, having cards in the banish pile and not their grave is going to be detrimental to my opponent. Then yes, I would try to make the Rice Heart. It also plays under Nibiru if I go 3 material Rice Heart right away. So yeah, just a little fun thing to consider. Shangri-Ira, the Dyson Sphere of Death. I really like Shangri-Ira. He's a way to lock out your opponent's zones. He has protection. When I used to play Shangri-Ira in a version of Kashtira Scareclaw that I really like to play, it used to be a big body, a big recruiter in the standby, And honestly, it's a really cool card because he gives you more Kashtira monsters. It's a win more card. Yes, he only protects himself once, but you know what? That's fine. It serves a purpose. And then the last one is 2 copies of Dragoon. I feel like if I play him at 1, my opponent's just going to quickly banish it, especially because they will know that Dragoon is on the field. So, so they'll probably try to get that one out of the way quickly. So if I play him at 2, it dissuades my opponent. It also gives me the ability to go into Dragoon more than once. How? I still haven't figured out that part yet. I'm working on it at the moment. But yeah, I feel like 2 Dragoons is ideal, at least for the moment. Dragoon can actually change to 1 as well. Like I said, I want to give my opponent a really, really hard time to figure out what to banish. That is the main deck so far, including spell traps and main monsters. Now on the side, I do have 2 Royal Decrees. People tend to, Labyrinth is a thing, and now with the release of the structure deck, Trap Tricks is also a thing. I know because my wife plays it a lot. And Royal Decree is just one of those cards that can just mess them up really, really badly, especially if you get a chance to set it up first. It just basically says, hey, no other traps work, and your turn is done. So their monsters are not that strong, and they won't do much without their traps. I got 2 copies of Solemn Judgment. I do not want to pay life points a lot, so this is a good first, maybe second card, like first 2 matches. You don't want to see it on the 3rd. Even though it's very useful, it also costs you and it can lose you in time. So do not overuse this, even though it's a stop all. Then 2 Dimension Shifters. I like having it at 2 because if I have a deck that, again, if I see that my opponent is playing a deck that loses very, very hard to a banish, then I take out my other 2 Ghost Mourners and I add the Dimension Shifters at 2. Honestly, Dimension Shifter still hurts a lot of decks out there. A lot of decks are graveyard reliant. So I feel like a 2 is a good ratio for them. I don't want to see it often because it can be a dead card in hand as well. I've played 3 Chaos Hunters. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. You don't like the Chaos Hunter. However, I do. It not only stops a mirror match because it can make it really, really hard for your opponent to banish anything. It also stops certain decks that I've lost to in the past. Funny story, I've actually played against the Runic with my previous build of Kashtira Scareclaw, and I lost against it mainly because of a bad judge call. My opponent activated I don't know what card it is, Runic Smashers or something, that makes it so, because I had this card with me and it was on field. He activated the card to his Runic card to destroy my Chaos Hunter and then banish her from my deck. But because she was on the field, if the effect cannot be completed fully, it cannot go through. So essentially his effect to destroy my card would have been negated. However, the bad judge call was the fact that they said, nope, he can destroy. I could have appealed. I didn't want to make a big thing out of it, but I know that this deck, later on in talking to an acquaintance is also a judge, I learned that if he cannot complete the full effect, then the effect cannot go through, and essentially he would have not been able to destroy, and I would have taken the game. But that's okay. We move on. But now we know Chaos Hunter can stop a lot of things. And like I said, if your opponent's effect declares that he has to be able to banish in order for him to complete, and she's on the field, then they cannot do anything anymore. That effectively shuts down the whole Runic strategy, and I really love that. So she's staying. I don't care what anybody says. I do like to play Hate Runate at 3, mainly because, again, back row decks to prepare, just to get ready. It does return him to the hand, but hopefully buying myself 1 turn is more than good enough to be able to set up a board and probably even go for game if I am playing second. So it can also bait and negate, and it's not a once per turn. So if I see multiple copies of it in my hand, I can just go ahead and play those. And lastly is Evenly Matched. I am missing 1 copy of Evenly Matched, which I want to run in 1 more of. Because if you noticed, and if you count it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. and the last evenly matched copy will be the 15th. I feel like evenly match is a really strong board breaker. If you're going second, which most of our opponents want you to go second, it'll really mess up their boards. It'll leave them with nothing, and it either have to have the negate or they are screwed. Essentially, that is that is it. There is no if, ands, or buts with evenly matched. But that's it, everybody. That is my deck. That is my deck list that I'm running currently. Again, if you guys find a way that I could better it, advice is greatly appreciated. I was thinking about maybe the Labyrinth tank that came out, but that's kind of gimmicky, and I don't know if I want to play that. But as we've seen, I do need a normal summon, and I'm not afraid of playing gimmicky things. If it works, right? Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming back to watch this video. Please know from the bottom of my heart that all of you are important to me. It's a channel that's still growing. Whether it grows slow or fast, doesn't really matter to me. As long as I enjoy the game, you guys enjoy the content. Let's all get better at this lovely game we love together. All right, guys. Well, in the meantime, I will see you all next time. And remember, Saturdays at 7.